Welcome to Aired Out, brought to you by Capitol Showplace Montpelier and Paramount Theater Barrie. At FGBtheaters.com, CW Print and Design in Barrie, at CWPrintDesign.com, Peak Entertainment, PeakDJ.com, Cruise Planners, your land and cruise experts. In Vermont, CruisePlanners.com, Donnybrook Fight Promotions of Williamstown, CBDCrave.com. Presented by CVTV, Public Access Channel 192 and 194, CVTV723.org, Fontaine Forestry and Millworks, Route 14 East Montpelier. Custom orders, rough, kiln dry, plain, tongue and groove, or shiplap. FontaineMillworks.com and Fly on the Wall Productions. Now, let's get aired out.
Hey, good Tuesday night. It's time for Aired Out, presented by Gauthier's Quality Grounds and Maintenance in Orange, Fontaine Forestry and Millworks of East Montpelier, custom orders, rough cut, plain, tongue and groove, shiplap, kiln-dried, hardwood, pine, and more. FontaineMillworks.com. Supporting sponsors include Peak Entertainment at PeakDJ.com, FGB Theaters, talking about the Capitol Showplace Theater in Montpelier, Paramount Theater in Barrie, FGBtheaters.com. The Disney films dominating the summer ticket sales, $4.4 billion this past year in total. So a lot of people getting out to the movies for sure. Donnybrook Fight Promotions in Williamstown, Cruise Planners, and YourVoyagePlanner.com. Donna Sherman we're talking about, your local land and sea travel expert. She's going to be on the show real soon. And, of course, CW Print and Design. Also, thanks to Tony Campos and Central Vermont Television, CVTV, and my new producer, Billy Waite. It is Tuesday, September 3rd. Happy 54th birthday today to crazy man Charlie Sheen on the birthday list today. Roger Hill saying a few breaks of sun. We have highs real comfortable today, right around 70 degrees, down to about 55, 60 tonight with some clouds. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, going to be breezy, a chance for some afternoon isolated thunderstorms, highs into the lower 70s. And then Thursday, the pick of the week, so says Roger, with sunshine and highs only topping out in the mid-60s. Sports, we got two track officials having serious injuries after they were struck by a race car at Thunder Road in Barrie. Pretty much everyone knows about this now. The crash happened during qualifying for the Labor Day Classic when a car went over the retaining wall and hit the officials. Both victims suffered leg injuries and were conscious and alert when they were taken to the hospital. The race event was postponed because of the crash. A makeup date is going to be announced this week if it hasn't been already. I haven't heard about it, but it may already be on the calendar. One official has been released from the hospital, and the other is still there recovering, and we wish both of them well. Our thoughts and prayers are with them and their families. Hurricane Dorian. Evacuees who end up in Atlanta this week can take advantage of a free offer from the Braves. Pretty cool. I saw this in the sports page this morning. Free tickets for tonight's game with the Toronto Blue Jays at SunTrust Park. Meanwhile, we have somewhat of a exodus that is underway on the eastern seaboard. Dorian stalled right now, but forecasters expect it to crawl toward the east coast. The Vermont Task Force 1, a swiftwater rescue team with members from several state fire departments, is headed to northern Florida. I think they may be there now. The team left on Saturday for Tallahassee. Actually, so I said Florida, I meant Tallahassee, part of Florida, of course. I haven't been there, but Tallahassee, Florida, where they're going to be based in case of the storm making landfall. And they're saying that right now it may not make landfall. It's about 85 to 100 miles to the east off of the coast. So it will be brushing the coast most certainly with heavy rains and flooding. So the Vermont Task Force 1 Swiftwater Rescue Team, Their deployment is expected to last just about a dozen days. So, meanwhile, the Bahamas, absolutely devastated. I don't know if you've seen some of the pictures, but unbelievable. Hey, events going on in our community. The 6th annual Ladies Ride for Breast Cancer and Poker Ride is going to be coming up Saturday, September 21st at Gusto's in Barrie. Proceeds are going to Donna Dick. So please, if you can help spread the word, if you get on Gusto's Facebook page, you'll see the event right there. Please spread this and show up and ride if you can. Rain or shine, it's going on. Registration at 9, kickstands at 11, $25 for the ride and the meal, $15 for the ride only. They'll have a 50-50 raffle with games and prizes, and Donna Thunder is going to be picking up the guitar and performing. Speaking of Gusto's, they have the Gusto's Open on September 15th. This is a noon shotgun start, and it all benefits Squid Copeland, who's fighting ALS. So please come out, get your team signed up for that. You can sign up right at Gusto's Bar and let them know if you'd like steak or chicken for that event. The president and CEO at Hoof Beats and Dreams Farm Ltd. has been in touch with me here at Aired Out. They're a 501c3 horseback riding program for low-income folks and equine rescue in Tunbridge, and they're having their first open house and silent auction on Saturday, September 21st from 10 to 5, and they are looking for donations. They have pony rides, or they will have pony rides during the open house. Lots of different activities, a 50-50 raffle, demos, and more. All proceeds going to go right into the program to ensure that nobody is turned away if they want to learn how to ride a horse but may not have the funds to afford it. So check that out. And we're going to be talking more about that. Hoof Beats and Dreams Farm, 100% volunteer run, including the instructors and the trail guides, and they offer lessons and even a riding day camp. They have students as young as 2 years old. So we're going to try to support them and air out the good things that they do. Vermont news, we got a protest that's planned for later this month outside the State House to call for increased safety for road construction workers. The protest was scheduled after the road flagger James Alger was struck and killed by an alleged drunk driver last month in New Haven, Vermont. Road workers are going to gather on the State House lawn September 21st, and they're going to be calling for legislation requiring more enforcement in work areas and higher fines for offenders. We got a Bethel man who's facing charges after police say that he chased a woman around a Tunbridge home firing a pellet gun. His name is Richard Bowles. Allegedly fired the pellet gun at the woman and her 2 children during the incident on Sunday. He fled the scene. Police were able to find him. He's obviously in custody, has been charged with aggravated domestic assault, reckless endangerment, and a few other offenses. So what's whacked? Well, a whole lot. People across the internet world are shocked about a Facebook video. Did you see this? Showing a mouse diving into a fryer at a Texas Whataburger. The footage shows the restaurant staff chasing this mouse to try to catch it before it jumps across the counter and into the deep fryer. I wonder if it felt any pain. But it obviously shocked the staff and the customers. The location was shut down and sanitized, but it has since been reopened. We got the world's longest cruise just launched out of London. Viking Cruises wants to set a Guinness World Record for the longest continuous passenger cruise, 245-day journey, taking 930 guests to 6 continents, 51 countries, and 111 ports. Check this out. Some of the stops for this eight-month journey include Scandinavia, the Caribbean, South America, Australia, and Asia. And if you want to do it, it's not cheap. Open up your wallet and get ready to hash out about $93,000 per person. I think that includes the drink plan. I'm not sure. So there you have it. There's a few wacky things going on in the world. We're going to be talking about the Popeyes chicken sandwich craze that's going on tomorrow night's show, which is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to it already. I have with me a lady who I've known for quite some time, a couple of years now. This is Sarah Clifford, and tonight we are talking about bullying. So I'm going to tell you right now, this is the first show that I've done on bullying, and I've if you have followed me over the years on Froggy, on the air or off the air, if you have followed me on Facebook, you know that I'm pretty outspoken about this. I just tend to get a little hot under the collar when it comes to bullying. For those of you that don't know, I have a 4-year-old little girl, and the day that she was born, within the first 60 seconds that she was born and handed to me, I held her, I cried, and I looked up at the nursing staff and I said, God help the child who bullies this little girl. And of course, the nursing staff had a little bit of a chuckle about that. But that's something that's been a concern of mine already, even before Lily was born. Bullying is something that has, in my opinion, and you're going to hear an awful lot of opinions on tonight's show, okay? And I'll tell you right now, you may agree with some of them, you may disagree with some of them, but in my opinion, bullying is something that has shifted gears and has taken off over the last couple of years to a unacceptable level. There are some folks that say, no, bullying is no worse than it ever has been. It's just society's reaction to it is different now. And our society that we live in is more sensitive to other things. So now we're overusing the word bullying. We're saying if somebody says something or whatever, that's got to be bullying. So we're abusing the word somewhat. Then there are folks that do not share that thought, that they believe that bullying is what it is and it should be called out as such. There probably isn't a week that goes by that Sherilyn and I don't discuss how we as parents are going to react to bullying. And it should also be said right off that it's not just, whether or not Lily will ever be the victim of a bully, but also whether Lily could potentially become the bully. So when it comes to the subject of bullying, Sarah, there is so much finger pointing that's going on. It's the parents' fault. It's the school's fault. It's the teacher's fault. It's the principal's fault. It's society's fault. It's the kid's fault. You're a mom of 2 girls, 12 and 14.
Correct.
And you're a 14-year-old. So you live and work right here in our community.
Right, correct, in Central Vermont.
And your 14-year-old, both girls.
Right.
God bless you for having 2 girls. Well, I don't know how you do it. I've got one. And it's just still, I don't know how I'm doing it or how we're doing it. But so your 14-year-old girl has some developmental
right. Yeah,
issues.
she's on the spectrum. She has some emotional disabilities. It definitely brings up the level of how she reacts to things or how she deals with things.
Right. how she reacts to things.
Right.
So so what grade is she in now?
She is in 8th grade. She's in her last middle school grade of Twinfield.
Okay, of Twinfield.
Yep.
Okay.
Both girls go to Twinfield.
So how long is the 12, so the 12-year-old is involved here too?
Right, yeah. Bullying's definitely been involved in our lives for at least the last, I would say probably 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
When the girls get into that next stage of, not being little girls anymore and they start getting into that adolescence, that's when the bullying, I feel, really starts showing itself.
It does. You're right.
It's always, especially when they get to that age, especially with girls. I mean, definitely boys, I think it involves too, but more with girls, they want to have, the same, nice thing as someone else, or, they want to look the same way, or, and media and the way that, we've portrayed this cookie cutter look has made it really hard for kids growing up, even for adults growing up.
Sure.
I've learned to be happy with what I see in the mirror, but there have definitely been days, thanks to something I've seen on TV or something that I have read, that I question that. And that makes it really hard for us, definitely. And especially for a mom as, raising 2 teenage girls, being like, be happy with who you are.
Sure. I was a teenager in the, I know I'm dating myself here as an old fart, but I was a teenager in the 80s. Man, it was a totally different world.
It was.
But there's some people that say, no. It wasn't a totally different world. It was just you reacted in a different way that kids react today. And I'm not so sure that I buy that. It seems like back then, and again, I know I'm sounding like an old guy here, but it just seems like back in the 70s and 80s, the parents that, and I'm generalizing hugely here, okay? Just general folk, it seemed like they parented differently. I know in not just my parents, and my parents were far from perfect, but it just seemed like that was the era of when you came home from school, you had homework to do, you had some chores to do, there were expectations, there was a level of respect to mom and dad. I have one brother who's 2 years older than I am. We just didn't talk back. We knew what was expected of us. We came home, we did what we were supposed to do. For me, it was my homework, and then it was at least 1 hour of practicing the piano, and then that was interrupted by mom calling us to the dinner table to sit down around a table as a family and have dinner, the 4 of us. Mm-hmm. My mother used to walk up to the landline in the house and unplug the phone right out of the wall during dinner. She didn't want any interruptions. And we would sit there as a family and we would talk. And I'm not talking about 15 minutes of dinner. I'm talking about a good, at least a good 45 minutes. And we would just sit around and talk as a family. And mom and dad would always ask the same questions. How was your day? Great. They wouldn't let it go there. How was it great? What did you learn? What did you do? How is your friend so-and-so? And so on. We engaged in conversation, intimate conversation. We talked about what classes we weren't doing well in, who we liked, who we didn't like, whether or not we wanted to do track and field or basketball or whatever it was. We talked about everything. We talked about what teachers we liked and didn't like. And it just, that's how it went. And that was at least 5 nights a week. I know that that still happens. I know that it does, and I'm sure that there's folks right now that say, "Yep, I do. We do that as parents." But it just seems like we're in this world of technology and cell phones and distractions and whatever it may be. There's a million TV channels. There's social media. There's video games. There's places to go. We're running around. We're a busy society now. And I don't know if that's the breakdown or what, but it just seems like there are more and more parents who are doing less and less parenting. Being a parent is not really a noun. It's a verb. Mm-hmm. To parent is and should be a challenging job where you're invested very much in your child. You're asking questions. You're searching. You're sifting through, mm-hmm. and you're dialed into your child big time. Seems like it's not happening that much anymore. So I think in our conversation before the cameras came on, we both kind of agreed that the subject of bullying begins with the parents.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be taught from a young age. A lot of people, even in daycares or even in elementary school, a boy will, be teasing a girl and they'll be like, oh, he likes her, or that's normal behavior. To a certain extent it is, but if you're seeing that continual behavior, that's not normal, and that's where the change needs to happen, and that's what needs to be recognized. Is the difference between teasing or picking and actually bullying.
I posted something on Facebook yesterday. We had quite a few comments.
We did.
And I haven't even seen the comments over the last 8 hours. I was just browsing through some of them last night. What are some of them that jumped out at you? I think one of the first ones was from Jennifer.
Yeah.
And tell me what she said.
So she was on your Facebook, and I should have had that pulled up, and I didn't.
And I can find it too, but
okay. So
basically, she was saying, emphasize the difference between bullying and.
Yeah, so Jennifer asked two things: empowering kids who are being bullied to speak up for themselves and how they handle the situation, and then 2, teaching parents and students what bullying is and is not. And she used an example which, no offense to Jennifer, I don't exactly agree with, but it's a 7-year-old boy says his classmate's ponytail is ugly. That's not bullying, it's teasing, and a girl needs to know how to handle that. If it happens once, okay, yes, it's teasing. Right. Is it right? It's not. At 7 years old, that little boy should know that just because something comes into your mouth doesn't mean it needs to come out.
Amen.
I go back to, and my kids will tell you, and they're probably watching right now going, yep, I know exactly what mom's going to say. I live by what Thumper said to Bambi or to Flower. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
It's interesting.
So, and
those are the fundamentals right there.
Exactly. And that's the way it needs to be. Just because something pops into your head doesn't mean it needs to come out of your mouth. And, it takes just as much time to say something kind as it does to say something mean. But that mean costs so much more in the long run than that kind does.
Yeah.
It takes the same amount of time.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. And that's what we need to be teaching our kids, and,
if you think somebody's hair or ponytail or clothes or their weight.
That's a huge one. Definitely.
Is different or strikes you in any way.
Right.
Keep that opinion somewhat dampered.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and we don't know the situation. I was actually pondering on that specific thing all day, and I was thinking to myself, what if that little 7-year-old girl, this is the first time she's dressed herself, and she did her own ponytail, and she was so proud of herself when she left the house in the morning, and then that little boy says, your ponytail's ugly. That's her self-esteem that was there in the morning, and especially you as, a father of a daughter, is gone. And I'll tell you what, that self-esteem is not easy to get back.
You're absolutely right. I think of how many times Lily loves to do her hair. Loves. So, man, I hope I just hope that I'm not going to have to deal with this. I hope I don't have to.
I would love to say you're not going to, but you grew up in the 80s for the teenage. I grew up in the 90s for the teenage, and I dealt with it. I actually quit school because of bullying. It got to be very bad.
Really?
It definitely,
I did not know that about you.
It definitely tends to be in minorities. So mine was due to my religious choice at the time that my parents were. It was really hard for me. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, unfortunately, and that made me very much a target because I wasn't allowed to do the birthdays, the holidays,
Right.
the school things.
Yes.
So that made me a target. My daughter, Victoria, is 14, and she is, definitely suffers from emotional and some other disabilities, and that makes her a target. She is someone who will give you the shirt off her back. She wants to be everybody's friend, and bullies, I swear, that's like something that they see. They know that they can just yo-yo her. Be mean. I'm sorry, bring her back in, be mean again, throw her back. Like, that's just a constant. I'm trying to get her to understand that not everybody is your friend, but it's hard. It's very hard.
Yes. Wanting to be everyone's friend
Yes.
is, yeah, that's definitely an issue.
It is. And at a young age, acceptance is definitely something we want to teach them, but we also want to teach them that it's okay to say, you're toxic to me and walk away.
Sure.
And that's the other thing that I'm trying to teach my girls is, how do you deal with bullying? Bullying is not something that I can just put them in a bubble as much as I would love to as a mom and be like, no one's ever going to hurt you the rest of your lives.
Of course.
But how can I teach them to empower themselves with that? And that was actually something that, Jennifer had wanted, was empowering kids. And I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to say something. If you feel that something is wrong, speak up and say something.
As a kid.
As a child, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you teach that? You have to sit down.
You
with
do
your,
have to
with
sit
your
down.
kids
Definitely.
and get the goddamn cell phones out of the room.
Oh, definitely.
So there's no distractions.
These definitely are a huge distraction. They're great, to have, but they're a huge distraction.
Just sit down and really get into a conversation with your kid
Yep. I mean, I'm
about this.
Yeah, definitely. And learn your child because they're not, unfortunately, even as great of a relationship you have with your child, they're not openly going to come out and say it for the most part. They're going to, especially as they get older, they're going to try to be strong.
Yep.
But you can tell, if they start, their behavior starts changing, or if they start being, snippy, or, figure out what's going on. The other big thing is have an amazing relationship with your kid's school. My kid's school have me on speed dial, like not probably literally, but that's what I feel like. If I call my kid's school or if something's going on, they call me and they let me know. And I'm on their side.
That's
and
fantastic.
I have their back.
This is Twinfield?
Yes. Twinfield is an amazing school.
Well, kudos to Twinfield.
Yes.
Tell everyone about the first day of school this year.
Yes.
Just a couple days ago.
Yes, just a couple days ago. So my girls were all excited. They had their school outfits picked out the night before, got dressed that morning. I took my pictures that I make them take every year, and they went off to school. And I ended up leaving work a little bit early, had snacks for them, and I was like, we're going to have a good talk after the first day of school. I'm sitting on the porch, and the school bus pulls up, and I hear my youngest get off the bus and tell someone, "Can you please stop?" I'm thinking to myself, who is she talking to? And I stand up and I look, and in the back of the bus, there are two young children sticking their middle fingers up at my children on the bus.
Day one.
I immediately got on the phone, called the principal, talked to Mark Mooney, who's the principal at Twinfield, and the next day he met my kids off the bus and dealt with the situation. So I definitely kudos to him for how they dealt with it.
Day two.
Day two was a little bit of a repercussion. I think because they kind of called that person out, it kind of, snowballed a little bit to them. So again, I was on the phone again after the situation represented itself, and it hasn't happened again after that.
Right. There are people watching, listening right now that want to say to you, Sarah, you can't always protect your kids from everything. At some point, they need to learn to fend for themselves.
They do, but they learn by example.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, I totally know. I was trying to think how I want to answer that. I think they need to learn by example. So and there's two senses of that word, like you've got an angel on one side and you get a devil on the other. I could definitely be the devil. I could be like, oh, I'm gonna, beat their asses, and my kids see that, or they can see me calmly call the school, let them know that this is not okay, and stand up for my kids. And in turn, my kids are standing up for themselves, because my kids are not afraid to tell someone this is not okay and walk away, or stick up for the other little kid that's getting bullied. My oldest has stuck up multiple times for kindergartners that have been bullied or being picked on. She has gotten ridicule for it, but she has stood up for them. So they're not afraid to stand up for those younger kids.
My dad's 87 years old. He's an old school boy. Okay. He and I share this family story and have for years. I was bullied pretty hard as a freshman in high school. And there was a senior, and his name was Matthew Blake, Matt Blake. And he was a big hockey star, big guy. And he was bullying me hardcore. Every opportunity he got, every chance that he saw me. And we shared homeroom together. And it's amazing when you're the victim of bullying, you can replay in your mind, like a movie, different incidents that happened from elementary school, from even earlier than that. And you can replay those. They live in your head, and they become, for some people, part of their soul for the rest of their lives. And that bully has long forgotten about it. Long forgotten about it.
You haven't.
And you haven't as the victim.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this got, it was a consistent thing. It was in the hallway. It was in class. It was all the time. Just, just the traditional name calling, throwing things. And he had his audience of jocks that would feed off of it and laugh, and he had that entertainment, and I was the source of his entertainment, and I tolerated it, and the teacher actually thought that it was pretty funny, which is remarkable, but it started at the dinner table. How was your day? Okay. And I bullshitted for quite a while because I didn't want my parents to know what was, how I felt. It was about how I felt.
Right.
And I was afraid that how I felt wasn't justified by the behavior. So what I'm saying is I was afraid to say how I felt and then have mom and dad or teacher or the principal or whoever learn what it was and have them discredit the bullying and say, that really wasn't bullying. You don't really have justification for feeling that way.
I think that's probably why a lot of the stats, too, are more about females than males, because they're afraid to say, hey, I'm getting bullied, because, they're supposed to be the strong one and the one
Sure.
that, but males get bullied just as much as females.
And you've done some homework.
I have. Yeah. Actually, in the last 2 years, our teen suicide rates have completely skyrocketed.
When you say our, you're talking about Vermont.
I'm talking
Nation?
So the nation. Yep.
Okay.
So America. So by the Journal of American Medical Association, 6,200 suicides out of 100,000. So 11.8 deaths per 100,000 are between 15 and 19-year-olds.
15 to 19.
Mm.
Ugh.
And that's up 10% in the last 2 years. It used to be the number 4 leader of death in teens. It's now the second leading death of teens.
And social media is just doing anything but help.
Cyberbullying is huge. I think a big thing, we were talking about.
Can't get away from it.
Right, exactly. When we were younger, I don't know if necessarily the bullying has gotten worse per se.
But you could
get away from it. Mom would unhook the phone,
right.
Or, they were calling and dad was picking up the phone being like, why are you calling my house kind of thing.
Sure.
Now, all they have to do is, add you to, my daughter actually had it last year where a couple girls had added her to a private group on Facebook and just to bully her, to tell her, that they didn't like her.
But they lured her into
They lured her in
group.
by being her friend.
So
and then
are your girls becoming smart enough to realize that there's a lot of imposters out there that are disguising themselves as friends?
Yeah, it's my youngest is definitely getting that a lot easier than my oldest. With the disabilities that she faces, she thinks everybody is kind because she's kind.
Wow.
She really tries to be everybody's friend. And she's the type of person that definitely gets used. She'll give you anything you want. If you have something that you like and you're like, oh, I want that, she'll give it to you, even if it's her last of something, just to almost buy friends. So
I have to, at some point, I have to get a child on this show.
Yeah, definitely.
To tell their story. I've got to do it. I mean,
I could definitely see Tori doing that.
I mean, your kids are more than welcome to come back on the show and do that. But I'll tell you right now, if there's any parents out there that want to share their story and they are brave enough to have their kids on, and their kids are brave enough to come on, you've got an open invite, man. Because I just have no tolerance of it.
I agree.
How do you feel about my dad, 87 years old now? And when I told him at the dinner table, told mom and dad, well, there's this guy there's this kid at school that I really don't like. Oh, how come? Well, I didn't say he bullies me. I said he does this and that, and he throws things and calls me names and blah, blah, blah. I never dropped the B word.
It wasn't used as well back then either.
Right. The reaction of my parents was not, whoa, red flag, oh my God, whoa. They didn't freak out. They calmly continued to ask questions, mostly my dad. And when dinner was over, Dad came into my bedroom and we sat down and he drilled me with more questions about this guy. And have I told, any teachers, and what have I done? What have I said? How have I reacted to it? And I told him, I was non-confrontational. I just was ignoring him. The problem with bullies is if they're ignored, they turn the heat up. Mm-hmm. And they get off on that.
Very much
because
so.
It's empowering for a bully to get the upper edge. They're winning if they're not getting a reaction, if the child is ignoring them. So my dad said to me, God bless my dad, said to me, look, pick a day, this week, next week, week after, whenever. You pick a day when you have said you've had enough. I think I was, I want to say I was maybe 16 years old, 15, 16. He said, you pick a day when you've had enough and you make that decision. Today, I'm going to go to school. I'm not going to be bullied by Matthew Blake. And you let me know. And he said, I'm going to hold off on my customers so that I'm available to come to the school to defend you. But I want you to spin around. And he showed me his fist, and he said, I want you to cold cock this guy as hard as you possibly can I said, "Whoa, Dad, come on, this is a big dude, hockey player. I'll probably break my hand." He said, "I'll take you to the hospital. I'll get your hand fixed. I'll deal with the teachers. I'll deal with all the repercussions. But I want you to nail this guy as hard as you can. Go for the jaw and cold cock him. And then after you just hit him one time, if he jumps on you, he jumps on you. But I just want you to try that." And I did. I think it was the next day. And I spun around. I think I swung so hard, and Matthew was behind me. I don't even think I looked where I was swinging. I think I just came back, and I spun around, and I put all of my swing into it, like swinging a baseball bat. I don't even think my eyes were open, but I landed him right on the jaw, and damn, my hand hurt. I still remember. And his head went flying back. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't ready for it. And he stumbled back, lost his balance, and tripped over the desk that was behind him and fell over the desk onto the floor. And all his buddies stood around and laughed. And he got up and he came over and he stared down at me with this look. I thought he was going to kill me. And of course I was, brought in for detention and everything, and Dad showed up at the school, and, I think the school was expecting my dad to show up and discipline me further and so on and so forth. Dad was thrilled. And, I don't know, it was maybe 3 or 4 days later. Matthew Blake was walking down the hallway, nodded at me, and we kept walking. And then, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days after that, I was getting something out of my locker, and he came over and he shook my hand. He didn't say anything. He just saw me. He extended his hand to me. I was sure he was going to pull me in and, and throw me in a headlock or whatever. Shook my hand. I could just tell in the look in his eyes, he had some respect for me. Is Dad's approach to all of this, in your opinion?
I mean, that approach is definitely what other parents have done. Actually, recently, one of the comments on that post by Amy, her son was bullied a month straight in front of teachers. On the 30th day, he had had enough, punched the bully. School suspended him, and she praised him. I mean, if he's being bullied or someone's being bullied and teachers aren't doing anything, at some point a kid's got to stand up and defend themselves. There's actually
Amen.
There was actually a Criminal Minds episode the other night that was about this, and the guy was bullied his entire high school life and ended up losing it and ended up going and killing everybody that watched him being bullied, including the teachers.
Sure.
I mean, so it definitely can have an effect on kids.
Sure.
Do I necessarily think that kids should go around beating other kids up? No.
Right.
But,
Or showing up at school with a gun.
Right.
And getting retaliation.
And that's the biggest thing, too. I mean,
Right.
back in the day, the worst thing you had to worry about is getting a black eye I definitely have gotten in my scrapes with, people. Nowadays, you don't know if they're going to have a gun or a knife or, whatever. So it definitely, is a different aspect. But I think in the same respect as us teaching our kids to stand up, the adults need to stand up for them as well. If an adult is seeing this happening, even if it's not your child.
Be an adult.
Be an adult, exactly. Because the definition of bullying, is basically it's an individual or a group of people with more power repeatedly or intentionally causing harm. If you take that power away from a bully, they don't have anything. And
Right.
just like you took the power away from him,
Right.
he didn't have anything. So, standing up to a bully is huge.
And causing harm. Let's just say it like it is. Words can be some of the most damaging things.
Oh, definitely.
They can be so much more powerful than a bullet, a fist.
Mm-hmm.
They can last a lot longer.
Right.
A lot longer.
And kids say words now like they're nothing. I mean, you know, my daughter has definitely come home, both of them, crying and saying, you know, someone had told them that they'd be better off if they weren't here. And the kid that's saying that probably doesn't realize what that actually means. But to a child like my daughter who has already had issues with, you know, trying to either hurt herself or contemplating it, you don't tell a kid something like that. And that's a parent's job to teach that.
Right.
You know, and then you also wonder, okay, where are they seeing it? Going back to the whole, you know, the two parents being home. Unfortunately, with today's society, one parent or both parents have to work nowadays. And it's hard. I mean, even me, both me and my husband work. You know, I try to be home when the kids get home. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes my kids are home by themselves and they are, you know, left for their own means. And unfortunately, social media and all that is right there.
Sure.
I try to monitor it as much as I can, but, you know,
Right.
it's right there. It's in front of all of us.
You've also had a glance through, you've flipped some pages through your daughter's diary.
Yeah, my kids have definitely never really hidden anything from me. But in cleaning my youngest daughter's room, I had come across her diary, and I read it, and there were some things in there that I questioned, and I immediately sat her down and asked her about it.
That's a whole nother subject. Was she pissed off that you read her diary?
She was not, actually. Those words didn't even come out of her mouth at all. She was more trying to explain what she was feeling at the time that she was writing it.
Is a good parent a parent that will read through their kid's diary if they have an opportunity to do it?
At 12 and 14, I don't think they need privacy.
Boom.
Trust is earned, and I definitely trust my kids, but I also know that they're kids and they're going to make mistakes, and I can't be the best parent and do what I need to do if I don't have all of the weapons in my artillery.
And sometimes they may reveal more to the diary than they would to you.
Right, exactly.
So you may be getting a more accurate beat on what's really going on.
Yeah, and it definitely opens up, I mean, it's not like something you're going to sit down and be like, oh, hey, today did you think about, hurting yourself, or today did you,
right.
But if you read in a diary that, your child's saying something along the ideas of, I'm wondering if it's worth me being here, I'm wondering if people are going to miss me if I'm gone.
Whoa.
That definitely blows up a big red flag.
Is that part of what you read?
That's what I read.
Okay. So for the folks that are wondering, JD, would you pick up and read your daughter's diary when she's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, whatever years old, if I had an opportunity? You bet your ass. I most definitely will. Hi, Lily, if you're watching this morning or this afternoon. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. So have you seen the documentary, Bully?
I haven't yet. It's in my Amazon to watch. I haven't had a chance. We've been crazy at home, but it's definitely something it's on my radar to do.
It's a must. Sherilyn says that every single school should be showing it.
It definitely looks like something that I'm definitely going to share with the school, because Twinfield's definitely the type of school that would show something like that. They took them to go see The Green Mile, I think was the movie, because of the whole interracial thing. So they definitely would be open to something like that.
To what Jennifer was saying on Facebook, the whole kids will be kids notion, which I don't know. I just think that back in the 70s and 80s, you could maybe get away with saying that a little bit more than you can today. Kids are going to be kids in the sense where they're goofing around, they're immature, they make fun of each other. And we as parents should be trying to instill in our children a sense of self-pride for themselves, self-respect and admiration for themselves.
Right.
But also, showing them their worth, their beauty, whether it's thin, heavy, whatever their style is, their hairstyle, whether they're goth or whether they're, whatever it may be, that they should be proud of who they are. They should like themselves. They should love themselves. And that they are accepted by you as a parent, whether you're a single parent, whether you have a husband, wife, doesn't matter. And that you're excited to see them at the end of every day. Whether they've gained weight, lost weight, whatever trend or fad that they're going through, okay? But also teach our children how to react and respond to another child or even a teenager who's just goofing around. Kids will be kids.
Right.
Just being immature and just being a kid.
Yeah, bullying is defined as multiple acts. So, one act of silliness or even nastiness, we should definitely talk to that child and figure out why, but that's not bullying.
There we go.
But any act that's repeatedly trying to harm physically, emotionally, or mentally, that's bullying, and that's where it needs to be addressed.
I get, I've just, I love to make people laugh and have fun with people, and that's how I want to be remembered, as someone who engages with people, and I don't always have to be the funny guy, but I like to make people laugh, and I like to laugh with them. And part of my whole MO is, you have to learn to laugh at yourself and maybe laugh with people who may take a dig at you. I get digs constantly. It doesn't matter what it is, I mean, it's all the time, every day, coworkers, friends, whatever it may be. Me, just me personally, I happen to love it. I love making fun of myself. I came out of the house the other day, and I don't know what shirt I was wearing and everything, but the comment that I got was, "What are you going off to sell ice cream today?" I had some turquoise shorts on and a shirt that looked like a tablecloth or something. I don't know, but I think it's funny as hell, and I love making fun of myself. But I also love taking a swing back too.
Right.
If somebody makes fun of me that I can find something to swing back at them, I definitely will. And it's hysterical. But I think that's a learned behavior. That's a learned maybe a skill.
Right.
To be able to do that and not take things personally and take things too seriously. And we do that. Hopefully, we learn how to do that as adults. As kids, we haven't matured enough to learn how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely
definitely
have started that as far as, being like, oh, let it go, or, but the biggest thing that I'm definitely working on with the girls is for them to speak up for themselves. So, if someone's saying something you don't like, tell them, I don't like that. And then if they don't stop, then that's not okay. Because then you're putting that boundary down. You're saying, okay, this is hurting my feelings, or this is bothering me, because sometimes they may be picking on you and they may be doing it like you are out of, joking or fun, and they don't realize that it's actually hurting you.
Sure.
But if someone speaks up and says, hey, JD, that hurts my feelings, then of course you're going to step back and be like, oh, that's not what I wanted at all. That's not the type of person I am.
Right.
If then you continued, then, we wonder what kind of person you are on the other side.
Of course. And a real bully doesn't really care whether or not
Exactly.
your feelings are hurt.
Exactly.
A friend, if you ever had to say, hey, just between you and I, that kind of bugs me. That
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have hurt my friends' feelings. I know, I definitely have hurt my kids' feelings, even by accident. Like, they do something and I've laughed and they've been like, oh, don't laugh at me. So, I mean, but when they say that, it's, you have remorse, you're stepping back and you're being like, I'm sorry. You're not being the bigger person over them. You're not trying to overpower them.
Right.
You're trying to, explain to them the situation. So.
And a bully may turn up the heat a little bit if they see that their victim is making friends and is becoming popular.
Yes.
And is,
Bullies like to isolate you. Definitely one thing I've seen.
If a victim of a bully is, has just, made the lead role in a play or whatever, or has done a great job, artwork or whatever it may be, some kind of accomplishment, plays an instrument, whatever, they'll turn up the heat.
Yeah,
Big
definitely.
time. And let's say this, kids, and I say, especially girls, and I'm sorry, but I'm just saying it, can be brutal,
Oh, definitely.
wicked. I mean,
very
just
brutal.
so far below the belt. I mean, beyond mean, light years beyond mean.
And they attack personal. Definitely personally.
Way,
you know,
like,
whether
deep.
it's the outfit you're wearing, whether it's, you know, the personality. I mean, they attack personal.
So your little girl wanted to get a pair of shoes.
Yes, my oldest
What
wanted to
happened?
get a pair of shoes.
What happened?
We went to the local place in Berlin, which there's not a ton of options, so we ended up at Shoe Depot. And she really liked this pair of shoes, and she had hesitated in getting them because she was told, or she was shown, that someone else had them that has bullied her. And she did end up getting them, though.
Right on.
Yeah, I was like, no. I was like, if you like those shoes, that's fine. Like, don't let that person.
This bully spoke to her on social media and said,
Right. Sent her pictures of the shoes and said that I got these shoes, you shouldn't get them.
wow.
Yeah.
Sherilyn would have gone out and bought 10 pairs of those shoes so that when the first pair was worn out, there would be another brand new pair and they would all be identical. And Lily would have had those shoes on, the same shoes, for a year or more. We as parents reacting to this, I have to tell you right now, I don't know how I'm going to react. I scare myself all the time. I mean, Sherilyn and I talk about this all the time. I don't know how I'm going to react until I'm faced with this. But
I say parents have two faces like a quarter does. The face that we show our kids is a lot different than the face behind the door when I'm
You-
talking to my husband.
you bet. You bet. You bet. And, you know, I mean, I will give the school the benefit of the doubt. I'll give the administration a chance to do their job.
Right.
And we should also say, I said this to you yesterday off the air, that more and more teachers and more schools and more administrators are parenting.
Mm-hmm. Very much
their
so.
jobs as teachers is not just to teach arithmetic and it's they're teaching them self-respect and parenting. And
I mean, most schools now
it's-
have either, you know, some type of a social worker, or they have, you know, when I was growing up, it was just a guidance counselor.
Right.
Now they have a behavioral, I mean, they
Of
have
course.
tons of different things in school.
I can't say enough about the difficulty, the level of difficulty that teachers have. They have an enormous job,
They do.
different from the teachers in the 70s and 80s. It's just a fact. They're not only teaching them, but they're parenting them. They're trying to teach them all these things that their parents should be teaching them.
And they've had a lot of things taken away from them too, as far as, you know, what they can and can't do.
Yeah, it's discipline. It's everything. It's everything. So, do you think? And I know we only have. Oh my God! I mean, that's fastest hour that's passed. Please come back on this show.
Definitely.
Please.
Definitely.
I already have another parent who's reached out, who's going to be coming on the show very soon to talk about the same subject and tell her story, which I think is great. But do you think that schools are poo-pooing bullying? Do you think that if you were to approach Twinfield and say, look, this documentary called Bully, or the Bully Project, or whatever it is, which is amazing. I'm telling you, folks, you have to watch this. YouTube it.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Google it, please. It's called Bully.
Bully.
If you were to say to Twinfield, or if you were to say to your school, hey, I really highly recommend that this be shown to everyone, do you think that that schools generally, well, you know, bully is kind of a buzzword. We don't really have a bully problem here. What do you think?
I honestly don't know how they would react. I do know that I have shared videos specific around some of the disabilities that my daughter has, and they've shared it with her teachers.
Okay.
So I don't know if they would show it at school. I haven't watched it myself to be able to say that I think, it is appropriate for schools, which I'm sure it probably is. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on that.
Right.
But I don't see why not. If it's something that could help, definitely. But at least if the parents watched it and other kids watched it, it would give them an open for communication about it, definitely.
When I was on Froggy, there was a little girl that I knew quite well who was being bullied repeatedly at Berlin Elementary School. And I sent a rather strong email to the principal. I can't remember his name. Chris?
I can't remember his last name.
Okay.
I want to say Mooney, but I don't think that's right.
His name was, I'm pretty sure his name was Chris, but
Yeah.
he was the principal at the time. And I didn't like his response to me, which was basically, we're doing all we can. Okay? This had been going on for months and months and months. Okay? I'm saying this, horse shit if you're doing all that you can. And 6 months later, we still have a serious problem, and this little girl's coming home from school crying.
Yeah,
Okay?
see, that's
you're
not
not
okay.
doing all you can.
There are
You're
definitely
obviously-
things that they can do.
Whatever it is that you're doing, it's not effective. You're not having any kind of positive results here. Deal with it, and deal with it aggressively. Don't put it off. Deal with it. Get the bully's parents in there, and face it head on with a no tolerance.
2 years
All right.
ago, Twinfield opened up an actual state investigation on bullying with a student with Tori, and it ended up finding out that that student was in fact bullying her, and it was through the state of Vermont. So
All
there
right.
are definitely things they can do.
Well, let me tell you, and I'm not trying to badmouth Berlin Elementary. Okay, this was years ago.
Right.
Because I know this happens at all schools, and I know for a fact that there's a ongoing bullying issue, several that are going on at Berry City Elementary. So it's not just one school that I'm pointing out here; it's all of them. But this went on and on and on and on, and the parents tried repeatedly to get this addressed, and they begged the school to deal with it. And the father was like, you know what? Everything has failed. Every system that's in place to prevent this has failed. And I'm going to go postal because this is the last resort. Nothing's being done. No one's putting an end to this. This is my child who I love, who's suffering. I'm going to lose my mind. So the mother, I mean, this family was busted up hard. I mean, they were tormented. They were, I mean, it went far beyond the school property, far beyond school hours. And the mother, out of desperation, went to the school and said, I have to remove my child from the school. We've decided that we're going to homeschool her. You know,
That's crazy.
it shouldn't, and I know that this has happened many times. Many parents have had this happen to them, where they've decided to homeschool their kid. That should not, the story shouldn't end like that.
Yeah,
It should,
I
for
agree.
multiple reasons, it shouldn't end like that. That is absolute bullshit that a parent has to homeschool their kid because the school, the principal, the teachers, whoever. I mean, we could sit and point fingers all day, but if the parents are doing their job and
I
the
was gonna say,
school
that's
is
what it
not,
goes back to. Yeah.
that the child should not pay the price
No.
of removing the child's network and connectivity with his community and making friends and playing sports and getting involved and building a nice network of friendships, of lasting friendships, shouldn't have to sacrifice that because the school can't put a finger on it and take care of it.
Right.
Remove the bully permanently
That's what Twinfield
and
did.
say, I'm sorry, Billy, I know we're going long, but all of these problems have happened. We have given you multiple, you, parents of the bully, have given you multiple opportunities to get this straightened out. You have failed. We, as a school administration, have decided that you, the bully, are being removed.
I agree with that, definitely.
I mean,
Unfortunately, though, it's always the opposite. It's the person that's the
course it
victim
is.
that ends up getting, you know.
Of
But
course
it all
it is.
goes back down to the same thing that you said in the beginning, and it starts at home.
Right.
Teach these children, like you said, you know, you're starting young with Lily, and you know, the reality is that, you know, we could all either have a victim or a bully, and it really is how
course.
we raise them. That's how it is, and they lead by example.
Yeah.
You know, and bully is not just doesn't just happen once you get out of elementary school or high school. I mean, adults bully too, and if you're that type of person, your kids are going to see that too. So that's something else you've got to
Right.
watch.
Right. And Wally Caswell, the general manager at Froggy, when you called me into your office and you lectured me and told me off for bringing this subject on the air on Froggy 100.9 years ago when this happened, shame on you. This is a subject that, I don't know, I obviously you can see I have no tolerance of.
Yeah, no.
This subject, you talk about aired out, this subject needs to be aired out.
I agree.
I have waited way too long to have bullying as a subject on this show. I know we've had lots of fun. We've had, and we will. We will.
Definitely.
But this is one subject. I mean, we've touched on some serious subjects on this show, suicide being one of them. But bullying, I'll tell you right now, this will not be the last show that you'll see on bullying. You're going to come back.
I will.
Maybe your kids will come.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk to Tori about that.
But I'm looking to get more parents on here, and I know some of them.
Right.
And
We can't be afraid to speak out and to, you know, be the voice that our kids need.
right, and call out who deserves to be called out. You know, I mean, enough is enough. So you're going to see this subject of bullying back on this show. The school year's brand new, okay? I'll tell you right now, teachers, I know you got a lot going on. You got an uphill battle, but open your eyes and pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes and do something about it. It's more important than whether they're learning history and science, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
Thanks to my producer, Billy, who's in there pushing the buttons. This guy is freaking unbelievable. He's got a podcast that he's going to be launching soon. I'm going to get him on the show. We're going to talk about that more. Tony Campos, CVTV, Central Vermont Television here in Barrie. This is Sarah Clifford. Easy to find you on Facebook.
Yes, Sarah Clifford.
I'm sure you're going to get a lot of response from the show tonight.
I hope so. And if anybody needs any, you know, help or just be that, you know, shoulder or someone to talk to if you're going through it, definitely reach out to me.
I think that you are enormously brave to come on this show and talk about this subject. I know there's many other subjects that we could talk about, and we've shared great conversations in the past, but to be able to come on publicly, on camera, on microphone, and talk about the subject of bullying, especially when it involves not one of your children, but two, I think takes incredible amount of guts.
Well, thank
And
you.
I thank you ever so much. Please stay in touch with me.
Definitely.
Let's watch the kind of comments and feedback that we get from this show. Make sure to comment, like, share, thumbs up, thumbs down. It doesn't matter. I would just love some kind of response from you, our community, and beyond our community on the subject of bullying. Thank you so much for watching, for subscribing. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time, and that's going to do it. I'm just going to go try to cool down a little bit. Have a great night, everybody. Take care of each other, and thanks so much for watching.